I'm never going to criticize a coach for being honest at a press conference, but his comments, Hugh Freeze's comments about Payton Thorne, continue to draw criticism.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Stepping up on a Monday, it is Charlie 5. It's a Charlie Tuesday on a Monday. Auburn message board legend. You can check him out at the barn, auburn.com. He's also the host of the Top Button podcast. Kyle Rush, we're going to talk about Kale Ellis, who you spoke to last night on a live. He reclassifies. What does that mean? I think it's actually a bigger deal than some people are probably acting like it is. We'll talk about some of the bye week goals now that Auburn has some time off, but Hugh Freeze calling out Payton Thorne, sadly, even if he is calling him out or not, I don't know. We can have that debate now, but sadly, that comment was like the most interesting thing to happen to Auburn on Saturday because the Auburn-Georgia game went exactly how we thought that it would. But the comments about how he said Payton, the fourth and short was supposed to be a dive to the left by Jarquez Hunter, and then it looked like Payton checked and changed the play at the line of scrimmage, and he kind of got some heat, I guess, from his head coach after the game. I mean, is this a big deal that Payton supposedly ran something that Hugh Freeze didn't call?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously that's a huge deal. Again, I still think I think I know why everybody gets so mad when he says stuff like this, and it's because we're 2-4, and it's like I got to be mad at something. So I got to I'm just going to lash out. Here's the thing. Okay. That was not part of Hugh's opening monologue. He didn't just say, okay, guys, look, before I start off, Payton sucks. It was all his fault. It is what it is. Okay.
Right.
I know your people are going to ask about the play call, and Payton sucks. That's the deal. It just, that just is what it is. That's not what happened.
It's not what happened.
He was asked two specific questions. Okay. The first one was there a read on that play? That he was asked specifically about the 4th and 1. There was not. I'm sorry. The first thing they asked him to describe what happened in that play. He said, we had a dive left called. Payton made an adjustment, and it didn't even work out. When I saw things start to go awry, I probably should have called a timeout. The second question that was asked, did Payton have a read on that play? And he said, absolutely not. He did not have a read on that play. He's a thinker. He knows a lot about football, but sometimes you just got to do what's called and don't overthink things. You don't have to get 10 yards on that play. You just got to get 1. That is not. I'm so tired of hearing "throw under the bus." Like I've heard that phrase now for 6 weeks. It's dumb. It's not what. That's not what. That's not. What's
so dumb.
It's really
so dumb. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I had to get that out.
No, I'm glad that you did. Yeah, and it does seem like everyone is confused on that play. Like as soon as the play is over, Jarquez Hunter is clearly confused.
He got his hands up. Like what just happened?
Yeah.
Why do we do
that? The whole thing stinks. And I think it's a byproduct of in key moments, we just don't step up. Like we just aren't there. And it's not just Payton. It's not just Freeze. It's not just the offense either. I think it's the whole team culturally. In big moments, we just aren't there. The lack of composure on this team, whether it's in the red zone, whether it's in key third downs on offense or defense, it's just nobody ever wants to step up. And that to me is the issue. It's not necessarily that one specific 4th and short call.
Sure. I think you nailed it. I do. I think there's a little bit of a lack of killer instinct that has sort of becomes like manifested into the culture a little bit.
Sure.
And look, going back to the Payton thing. Look, I think probably if I had to guess, I would say Payton probably makes the right decision way more times than not throughout the game. I mean, I think there's probably a lot of decisions in this offense that have to be made. And I would say that Payton probably makes the right decision more times than not. And I would even go as far to say as schematically, he probably made if everybody was on the same page schematically, he probably made the right call in that situation. If there even was an option for him to have a read, you had an unblocked defender. It didn't look like you had any DBs on that side of the field. You probably could have, if you get past him, you probably could get that 1 yard. Okay, I will relent that. I think he probably makes a lot.
Pre-snap. You're saying pre-snap.
I think he probably makes a lot of the right decisions. The problem is situationally, sometimes even the right decision is the wrong decision. Like, you don't have to have a 6-yard play there. A lot of people were talking about, the end would have gotten Jarquez anyway. We don't know that. All he had to do is get a yard. And you look at the overhead shots in the left side where Hugh said it was a dive left.
So there were numbers.
Left side, it's a gaping hole. Like, it's easily a yard. Like, he could have tripped and fallen and gotten 1 yard that way. So
I also don't care if there's a hole or not. Like, I'd rather have Jarquez Hunter as the guy that I'm kind of banking on getting a yard.
Yeah. And I'm the same way. Like I said I said on my reaction show, I understand you go to the line and there's answers for everything. There should be an answer for everything that they are giving you. I would just like to see more of the answers be Jarquez, whether it be we check into a run to a different side, we check to a pass to Jarquez, we check whatever it is in that scenario. I want to see more of the answers be Jarquez. But like I said, though, it's not so much that he's making mistakes. It's that I think sometimes you just got to take what you've given. You don't have to make the perfect call every single time. Like, it's okay. Even if you think that guy could possibly get Jarquez in the backfield, let that happen. And then you can turn and blame the coaching. You know what I mean? Yeah, then you can turn and say, I did what you asked.
Yeah. And also at that point, like, they hadn't gotten to Jarquez consistently up to that point in the game. Like, no. I'll take my chances running the football in that key situation with the best running back in the SEC that is just, for some reason, not as big a part of this offense as he needs to be at this point. That's my biggest frustration. That's one of we'll talk about bye week goals later in the show, but that's one of mine. Is like, it'd be different if, Jarquez Hunter got what? You get 13 touches. You have 12 rushes and he had a catch, I think.
13 carries. And I thought he had 2. I'm almost I saw it was only registered as 1 catch. I could have sworn he had 2 catches, but
yeah, 13, maybe having on a penalty or something didn't count. But but regardless, like, it's normally I would say going into the season, I said 15 touches a game for Jarquez, but he hasn't gotten that up to this point. Like, there's nothing about Jarquez Hunter that looks beaten up or worn down at this point of the season. As far as I'm concerned, especially with this bye week coming up, he's got to be as fresh as he can possibly be at this point of the season for like a bell cow caliber SEC running back.
Yeah, the only thing is, I do agree. We do need Jarquez to be more involved. I think he does need to be more of the answers to when you go to the line and there's issues and you got to make a decision. I think Jarquez needs to be the answer for a lot of those. Yeah. But I also do think the balance, a little bit more of the balance in the offense, is why he's able to have the success that he had. I would love to know if you could go back and look on running downs where we knew we had to run and they knew we had to run, how successful we actually are. I don't think it's that successful. If you look at those just straight up, I've got to beat this guy in front of me.
Yeah, maybe.
We need to break I would like to break that down and see it. So I understand the balance to be able is yielding Jarquez having a lot more success, but at the same time, I'm with you. 13, it seems like 18 touches should be minimum, whether it be through the passing game, in the running game, because he continues to, whenever he's given the opportunity, he continues to rip off, big runs. That touchdown run was incredible. He basically this dude bear hugged him and he said, I deny you. I deny that.
Like, I don't want you to hug me right now. No. Thanks though. Yep.
And then he's fast too. He's like, it's crazy. Sometimes he's sneaky fast.
He's
he'll run away from you.
He's so good. And I almost think that we've kind of taken how good he is for granted as a fan base and as folks that cover him and kind of are expecting, or what are proper expectations for Jarquez Hunter. Like, he is the best back in the conference, and he's not being used as much as the best back in the conference should be. I think we're all in agreement there. So we'll see what happens moving forward with that. Hey, Cale Ellis, the offensive lineman from the 2026 class, has reclassified to the 2025 class. Actually a big deal. And we're going to tell you why in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. Kyle, can you imagine? Can you imagine hiring somebody not through LinkedIn Jobs?
It's irresponsible is what it is if you do that.
Do you want your business to fail? Hire somebody without using LinkedIn Jobs.
Yeah. You want the opposite of that.
If you want to succeed,
yes,
go to LinkedIn Jobs and post that job for free. Just post it for free. What have you got to lose? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Kyle Rush, also known as Charlie 5. Yeah, so your show, the Top Button Podcast, goes live every Sunday night. It's daily, but it also goes live Sunday night. And your Sunday night lives are typically more geared towards recruiting. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were joined by Cale Ellis, who's kind of the man of the weekend as far as the breaking news. Interior offensive lineman. I'm assuming we see him as a center, the future center of Auburn's offensive line. The reclassification thing is big for me. And normally I don't love this for positions where like you need size, but like an offensive lineman. But I love it because I want him to overlap with Connor Lew.
Yes.
I think that's crucial. I think that's crucial. And this now happens with him reclassifying.
Well, yeah, and when you talk about size, I mean, he's already 6'4", 285, like as a high school junior. So he's not going to be. He doesn't have a very far to go from a body standpoint as far as getting bigger, getting stronger. He is a very explosive. Yeah. He's a very explosive kid already. But I'm with you. Look, Connor Lew, everybody kind of figures he's already on this trajectory. The NFL loves kids like him, loves center prospects like him. He's going to be basically a 3-year starter. And if things stayed the way they were, you'd have Cale coming in, and if he took directly over, he'd be a true freshman. Okay, so now with him reclassifying, he gets to come in and build, get in the weight room, get in a college program, and he'll be able to redshirt. If that's the case, I mean, I'm not going to be shocked if this kid's not pushing for time at one of the guard spots. Like he's physically impressive already. But if that's not the case, and you really want him to slide in and be that center, I love the fact. I love the fact that he gets to be here 1 year and watch everything. Watch Connor Lew. Work out with Connor Lew, figure out everything that he's doing, because Connor Lew's a stud and this kid is a clone of him. And you could just have a seamless transition of boom, boom. Now I have 3 years of Connor Lew, and I can have 3 years of Cale Ellis as well. I'm extremely excited for this reclass. I think it was a very, very smart move on everybody's part.
Do you think this impacts any kind of offensive linemen that are already in the 2025 class with this reclassification? Is there anybody to kind of look at and say, well, hopefully he hangs on?
So Auburn's obviously looking at the McGuire kid from Texas. He's also an interior lineman. I don't think he was being recruited to be a center. So there's Ty Buster, who was kind of labeled as maybe your center prospect of this class. I think they really love him. They love their eval of him. So I don't really see that affecting that. I don't really see anybody. I know some people. I know somebody on Twitter. Oh, this means we're not getting Andrew Babalola. No, they don't. They don't play the same position. They don't affect each other at all. So I don't think that's the case. I really, to be completely honest, I'm not really sure that affects anybody. I think it's just sort of like a bonus. I feel like you see kids like this, they've been on this like pathway that they've been trying to make it happen. And they get, a lot of times when they finally get the word that the credits work out and everything went through like they expected, that's whenever they go ahead and pop. And maybe this was part of the plan all along. You just finally are getting the word. You're finally getting the word that you can actually pull it off. One thing, it may not affect another offensive lineman. It could affect some other player that you're trying to get, because now that puts Auburn at what, 25 in the 2025 class. And I don't really think you have a whole lot more room. Actually, maybe 26 now. I forget about Deuce. We got to go back and look at it. But you probably only have room for a couple of more guys. So, again, I don't think it affects the offensive line, because I think they like everybody that they got. But again, I still think it's a big thing to go ahead and get him on board. Go ahead and get him in the class in December.
Yeah, it looks like it is 26. Because
26, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I do wonder how many moves they're making with the assumption of these expanded scholarships.
Yeah.
I also wonder if with NIL, if they don't care, if somebody's technically a walk-on and they just kind of take care of it with NIL. I don't know if numbers really matter that much right now.
Okay, so I agree with you. Okay, so, but I think that earlier we were preparing for this 105 scholarships. Okay, that was supposed to be the thing. You're going to go to 105 total scholarships, and you're going to eliminate walk-ons. Basically, everybody's a scholarship player. That was what was looking like everything was moving towards, and that vote seems to be being delayed. So that may not actually take place until the next recruiting class. So you're sort of preparing and taking a lot of commits, preparing for that 105, because that's what you do. You got to prepare for the best case scenario and then adjust if it doesn't go through. So yes, NIL could cover a walk-on if it's going to be 85 again, and you're going to have walk-ons, but these kids don't want to be walk-ons. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to convince a kid. I mean, and that's a lot of money too. I mean, that's paying for their scholarship through NIL and giving them the NIL on top of it. That gets really expensive. So I still think it matters. I still think numbers are going to be a little bit of a feel it out type game, because you want to add some portal guys too, and you don't really lose a ton of seniors. So it's tricky. It's definitely it's not completely just thrown out with NIL and this roster expansion. There's still some number crunching that needs to be done.
Yeah, but I do think if they added some guys with the sense of, okay, we were really banking on this expanded scholarship situation. One, they're okay losing them if they were to go elsewhere. Yeah. Or two, if they really wanted to keep them, I do think they have it in the NIL war chest to make that happen.
Sure. And that's a good point. You throw it out there, and if they stay, it's a bonus. And if they leave, you're not incredibly hurt by it.
Yeah,
because you can't have a spot anyway.
Hey, real quick. I mean, I guess the other recruiting news this weekend that Auburn was tied to was they lost out on Usman Kroma, the talented running back. He chose Georgia, which is what most people were projecting over the last week or so. Where does Auburn pivot in your mind at running back if they still want to add a second running back via high school in this class?
I think the only thing they're going to do is they're going to continue to recruit Usman, and they're going to continue to recruit Shakai Mills-Knight. You'll take either one of those if you can flip them, and if not, you're going to go to the portal. I don't think there's another high school back that's going to pop up on the radar that's going to be another prospect. I think you're totally fine with if you miss out on both of those guys, you're fine with going to the portal.
Yeah, I love that strategy. Let's don't drop what we want as far as our running backs, because I trust the staff's ability to evaluate up to this point. There's always a million running backs in the portal. Yeah. I love it. I love this.
There's a really good one that Naheem Alford. Obviously, Auburn's still pushing hard for Naheem Alford. He's got a brother who's a stud running back at Tulane right now, who's having a very good year. That could be looking to level up, and maybe you could somehow work that into a package deal. I think his name's Mekhi Hughes. From Tulane, having a really good year. Obviously, Auburn hasn't reached out to him because it's not portal time, but that's not going to be one that shocks me, especially if you end up flipping Naheem, which still Ohio State people are preparing for the worst. They feel like it's going to happen, especially after the Deuce Knight commitment.
The way Ohio State people are now acting about Alford is the way Notre Dame was acting about Deuce early 100%. In the process. Is just later. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Bye week goals. I actually think there's a lot that Auburn can accomplish this week. And I do think it kind of shows that they can still save this season to some extent. It kind of depends on what your expectations are. Let's jump into that in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Can you imagine buying a ticket anywhere than with our friends at Game Time? Nope, you can't do it. You can't do it because, like, why would you want to live in that world? I love the all-in pricing. You can toggle this feature on and off so you can actually see what the tickets actually cost. You're not like blasted with fees and extra charges when you're checking out. I love that. You also get the panoramic view from your seat, so you know exactly what to expect for when you buy these tickets and when you get to the venue. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Kyle, what time is it?
Game time.
Yeah.
It's a good guess.
Yeah, it was a good guess. You really nailed that. All right, so final few minutes on today's Locked On Auburn. And thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. As far as bye week goes, I talked about this on yesterday's show, Kyle. I think this staff, and it comes from Hugh Freeze, I think he needs to sit down with his team and say, hey, virtually every spot on the depth chart is open. I don't care if you're an upperclassman. I don't care if you're a freshman. We are putting the best guys on the field at every single position. We're going to go through the entire your entire resume this year of what's been on film, and we're going to reevaluate and ask the question at every position group. That to me needs to be the number one goal.
I don't disagree. I don't dislike that goal at all, especially if I think it could also be a thing where if it's close and it's an upperclassman and it's a young guy, I think this is going to be a time where you say, okay, look, we're halfway through the year. We may roll with a younger guy. We may roll with the younger guy at those positions if it's close. So hey, you better blow it up this next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because if it's close, we're going to go with a younger guy. I think there's several things that I would like to see. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, do you have one or two that you think, okay, Auburn really needs to fix this week?
The thing that needs to be fixed, I'm not sure that it's 100% fixable, but I think you got to get a lot more on the same page as far as the checks and the play, the changing of the plays and the audibles and stuff like that. And like I said, I think you need to make several of the options more the answer to the issue be Jarquez. I think you got to figure out a way, because look, people are going to think I'm crazy, and it is what it is. I don't care if you do or not. I think it's the truth.
I think you're crazy.
The offensive football that you've seen the last 2 weeks is Auburn getting better, in my opinion. I feel like it hasn't yielded a win, but you look at what you did the second half of Arkansas. You look what you did against Oklahoma. You move the ball at times pretty well against Georgia, sure. And I feel like you're sort of building something. And you can win games. You can win some over this next stretch with offensive output, like you saw. And you're not going to face a better defense than what you faced the last 2 weeks. Nobody that you play from here on out will have a better defense than the last two defenses you played. And you've been able to move the ball. You've been able to score points. So let's find out how we can stop the bonehead stuff. And if the answer to the bonehead, eliminating the bonehead things is Jarquez Hunter, let's figure out how to make that happen. Like if it gets to the point where it's like, I'm not sure I'm 50-50, let's give it to Jarquez. Let's establish that over the next 2 weeks. If it's close and unless it's a no-brainer, give it to Jarquez. Like I want to figure out ways to get everybody on the same page, so where Jarquez becomes more of the answers to the questions when you walk up to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I agree with that to some extent, but also like I don't even think if you change anything at all and you just get a little bit better over the course of the bye week and you play like you did against Oklahoma and you play like you did against Georgia, I think you beat Missouri.
I do too. I mean,
and I mean, I don't know who Kentucky is. I don't know if Kentucky knows who they are. Like, they look different every time I watch them, but like, I think you got a shot. And then we'll see who Vandy is. I kind of see, like, I could also see like Vandy being on this mental high and they're like emotional high and they aren't able to get to that point again. Like that the timing of this could be actually good for Auburn as far as hosting Vanderbilt. But like, I don't think it's crazy for Auburn to play the way they did against Oklahoma and Georgia and parts against Arkansas once they quit turning the football over. Like, to me, I think they're good enough to beat those teams. Like, Auburn could totally go on a run here. Now, they need to do it. Like, I mean, but we've said that against Cal and against Arkansas. Like, they need to do it, and they haven't been able to do it yet, but it does feel like they're close.
Totally. And I think take that, you got to figure out how to take that closeness and figure out, okay, we're close to the edge. Now let's put us over the edge. What is it? What is the thing that we can unlock? I know that Cam Coleman has to be just chomping at the bit to figure out. I'm watching some of these other freshman guys sort of excel. And I know you can point to Keandre Lambert-Smith and say, look, we know that it can be done because you see this guy going off. But I know Cam Coleman wants to be that guy too. Yeah. What can we do in these next 2 weeks to unlock a little bit more out of Cam Coleman and a little bit more out of Malcolm Simmons to really put this offense over the top and then figure out how to work Jarquez more into the game? That's going to be what I'm looking at over the next 2 weeks. That's what I hope to see. Yeah, I'm there with you. All right, Kyle, how can people check out everything that you've got going on? Yeah, man. Subscribe to thebarnauburn.com. Our game threads on Saturday are electric. They're absolutely electric. And that's not even really a lot of inside info. That's just the good community that we've created already. It's $1 for your first month. If you don't like it, you're only out $1. It's a great investment you could ever make. It's very entertaining. A lot of great information. Zach hits us with the team stuff. We got a lot of guys hands on deck with recruiting and other things of that nature. It's a lot of fun. And again, it's only $1 to try it out. So check us out at thebarnauburn.com. You can find me on the Top Button podcast every single day. Basically right now we're going 7 days a week. Check all the other content that we have at the Barn Auburn YouTube page. Yeah. And you can also check out my other show that I do with Brad Law. It's called Village Vice over at the Barn YouTube page as well. So check that out, thebarnauburn.com. Hey, please like the video, please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.